Hi, I'm Todd Marks, founder and CEO of Mindgrub Technologies, and I'm here today with Renee Beck, who is a woman of many titles, Vice President and Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer
You got it.
at the Central United Way of Central Maryland. So, Renee, tell us about what your job is. I know it's super exciting. You get into a lot of stuff, but tell us about United Way, Central Maryland, your role there.
Sure, absolutely. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me today. So, United Way of Central Maryland has been around for 100 years this year, but we say often we are not your grandfather's United Way. So, when you think of United Ways of past, you probably think of a United Way that had dollars donated to it and then passed them out to the community. We still do some of that because we grant dollars to social entrepreneurs, to people who are doing work in their neighborhoods, but we also do a lot of direct impact work in housing, health, education, economic development across the board. So my role at United Way of Central Maryland is Vice President and Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer. So that just basically means that I oversee the marketing team and the innovation team. And our role is to act like an agency within the organization. So we support every division. And at the same time, we're supporting them. We're also trying to think of new ways to market our business, new ways to reach new donors, current donors, those who might need support. And on the innovation side, thinking about how do we do things in a different way? How do we challenge ourselves to maybe implement technology? How do we think about new ways just to reach people in every day? And again, whether that's people who need support or want to support.
Absolutely. And so United Way of Central Maryland, what is that kind of region? Where would you define Central Maryland itself?
Yeah, Central Maryland, a little confusing. It is the greater Baltimore area. So
Yeah.
it is
The counties that touch Baltimore County.
everything right around that Baltimore City, Baltimore County area. So it is Hartford, Howard, Carroll, Anne Arundel, Baltimore County, and then Baltimore City.
God, and the population you serve is really categorized as Alice.
Yeah.
And what does that acronym mean?
Sure. So ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. What that comes down to is people who are working hard but can't make ends meet. It might be someone who is working a full-time job during the day. Maybe they're working in a daycare or even in an office. And then oftentimes they're driving rideshare in the evening or working a second shift and just have no safety net if something goes wrong.
Right. And then on top of that, might have a kid or two. And
Yes.
then you're really paycheck to paycheck.
Then you're
So then you're always climbing out of the hole, basically. But
Exactly. And if something goes wrong, if the car breaks down, if you get a month or two behind on rent, where do those dollars come from?
and you have programs for that.
We do. Yeah. We have a lot of
Got it. You mentioned housing, you mentioned healthcare.
Mhm.
Yeah, describe some of your programs.
Sure. So housing obviously is a big thing on on kind of the technology side. We're always watching Google Analytics and seeing where people are from when they're coming to our site and what they're searching. Rental assistance and eviction assistance are some of the top searches that land people on our site. So housing is a big thing. When you
And do
think
you have housing or you find housing for
we
them?
help people
Or you
either.
fund them to gain housing?
Yeah, it varies. So we don't actually have housing. We don't provide housing, but we offer people assistance with it may be financial assistance depending on the situation, or we help them through things like eviction assistance.
Hmm.
If you get an eviction notice, it does not mean you're evicted. There is a whole process to go through. So we've created literally flow charts to help you look through the process because it's very confusing. We have an eviction assistance program. If you call 211 and you're in need of eviction assistance, it's actually a legal representation to help you work through the eviction process because how do you get legal representation if you can't afford lawyers?
Sure. Yeah.
That's an incredibly large expense.
All
So
right.
our housing work does a lot there. During COVID, a really innovative program that our housing team came up with was called the Strategic Targeted Eviction Prevention Program. Long name, but ultimately what it was working with landlords to bundle evictions. And with dollars that we received from the state of Maryland during COVID, we were able to mass pay off back rents and sometimes even pay forward rents. And that kept people in their homes.
Sure.
It kept a roof over their heads. It kept them from moving their kids out of schools. It kept disruptions for work, things like that. And it is a very difficult thing if you don't know where you're sleeping.
Yeah. Well, and the shocking thing is the percent of individuals that classify as Alice in this region, in this state. What are those statistics?
Yeah. So in Maryland, 39% of people.
39%, over a
39%.
third of our entire population
That's right. Yeah.
in Maryland
They're-
is not just paycheck to paycheck, but they're building up debts.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
You're building up. Again, think about if something comes up, the car breaks down, you're putting that on a credit card if you're able
Right.
to have a card. You're probably racking up multiple credit cards, which is also impacting your credit score. So that when you do get out of that debt, now you have an impacted credit score.
I always thought that was like opposite. Like, yeah, you're really good at paying your bills, and therefore you get the lowest interest rates. You struggle to pay your bills, and therefore you have to pay the highest interest rates.
Yeah.
I think fundamentally it doesn't seem very equitable with that.
That
Fortunately, I had low interest rates myself, but
you're right.
there were times where I did not, and it was very difficult.
It's very hard, and you're right. It is not equitable. It is not putting everyone on, an even foundation. How are you supposed to ever dig up out of that? You're constantly trying to move up, and other people are already there. So it is really difficult. But yes, like you said, more than out of every 3 people in Maryland. It could be
And at the national level, it's 42%, even a little bit higher.
a little bit higher. Yeah, it's right around 42% nationally. So
So you're doing good work in Maryland now. We're under we're winning here.
But
mean,
that is really
relatively.
sort of the area that United Way of Central Maryland does focus on is this Alice population. There are a lot of programs for people who are living in poverty, who are facing homelessness, who are unhoused. Not enough, but there are programs out there and funding. And then there are people who are able to get by and again have that safety net, have college savings, down payments for homes, things like that, maybe generational wealth that has built. This population who's living as Alice is often overlooked. They don't qualify for benefits because they make too much money. So they make too much money to get government benefits and other benefits that they might qualify for otherwise, but they don't make enough to truly get by.
Right. Okay. So they don't get like what are the cards called that you can take to the grocery store?
Like
SNAP
SNAP.
cards. Yeah. So they don't qualify for SNAP.
Yeah, sometimes that means you're above the SNAP line. And interestingly, you're talking about having kids in Central Maryland. The household income for 2 people with 2 children is around 90. It's a little bit above $90,000 as the salary. So you would think if your household
That's the Alice line is 9,
Mhm.
but I mean I have 7 kids, so I understand.
You're not.
I understand. I mean, I need a little more than that to just get by, but
But yeah, family of 4 essentially with an infant and a child in daycare. It's a little bit above $90,000 is the household income
Wow.
to qualify. So
in
90,000.
the Central Maryland or all of Maryland area,
That's the Maryland area. But you would
and that goes up or down depending on like Beverly Hills. The line might be a little higher, but
Yeah.
in other areas of the country, it might be lower.
But just imagine that $90,000, $92,000, 93 feels like enough to get by. I mean, if you and your partner have 90,000, that should feel like enough.
You would think so, right? But not when eggs cost like $20 each.
Right. And
Yeah.
rent is skyrocketing. So to guess here, do you think rent or childcare costs more in Central Maryland?
Childcare.
Yeah. And people are shocked. In Central
Yeah.
Maryland, it's around $1,500 a month, whereas rent, because again, you're adding in a lot of factors. You're
Yeah.
adding Baltimore City, counties,
Yeah.
all that. It's around $1,200.
Yeah.
So your childcare is costing significantly more.
Well, and unfortunately, this area has a very high cost of living,
It does.
and inflation is not helping.
Yeah.
We in Maryland lost 200,000 residents last year, and it's the two ends, right? I mean, as our population goes down, we do need to increase taxes, right, to pay for it or cut spending. Obviously, we have options there, but because of high taxes, we lose some of our population. But the most people that leave the state is because of they can't afford to live here.
Sure.
It's housing. There's not enough affordable housing.
Affordable housing.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, how can you afford to move? Moving costs money.
Right.
So if maybe you're moving in with family or have found somewhere more affordable and can have that cost, but you're likely putting it on a credit card.
Is that one of the things that you'll subsidize or pay for is moving costs?
So moving is something sometimes if you call 211, we can at least guide you to assistance for
Yeah.
moving. Yeah.
Does 211 ring your phone? Not you personally, but
You won't
United
be able to
Way?
reach me. You will reach our amazing, amazing, amazing resource specialist, though. So 211 is a national number.
Oh, okay. It's depending on where you call it from.
Yeah.
Does it ring national or does it ring?
Find it for a local.
Oh,
Find for
wow.
local.
Okay.
So if you call from the Central Maryland area, you will get
Yeah.
our amazing 211 team in Central Maryland. They will help you resource. It's unbelievable. I mean, I've sat in on calls. One of the first calls I ever sat in, someone needed help with funeral costs for a parent, and they said, I can't pay for this.
Sure.
It
I
costs
see people walking on the road just trying to solicit money for funeral
totally
costs. Yeah.
for basic
Right.
for basic needs that we have in life, right?
Right.
Those are basic costs that come up in life, and so to find those resources, people will often call 211. We also have a database on our website. If you go to uwcm.org/211,
Do you have
there's
a
also a
211
database.
app?
There's not an app yet.
Oh, we should talk about it.
I know what you all do. There's
Yeah,
not an app yet.
I was impressed. I used the 311 app.
Yeah.
I had my the cover of my water meter went out at home. The snowplow knocked it over.
Oh.
And I used 311. So I'm in the county, but it covers an area too. And it was two guys came out from the city, and I don't think they'd ever seen. I'm near historic Ellicott City. We had like hills and rivers, and they were just big eyed, and they didn't know where they were. It was an amazing process to be able to go to an app and say I'm missing a manhole cover. They literally came out within a couple of days.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be something else if like I'm worried about being evicted, or I have to move, or I can't pay, my medical bills, right?
Well, and that's a great thing locally that we have 311, because 911 is your emergencies. That's, something urgent that you need help with. 311 is your city services or county services. That's that you need the manhole cover.
Right.
A few things that 211 is your health and human services.
Right.
So that is exactly that. I can't pay my rent. I'm about to be evicted. I can't cover this medical bill. The funeral costs are too high. Utilities are one of the highest call volume requests.
Well, especially now, the costs are going up substantially for utilities. Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing that. And like you said, just general costs across the board. We can joke about eggs, but everything.
Yeah.
The cost of everything has gone up.
It happens. I wonder who has 111.
Someone else. I wonder what they're using for.
Did United Way come up with 211?
Yeah, so 211 was actually developed by United Way as the larger system. So we are part of United Way Worldwide.
Right, which is a
global
billion-dollar organization.
Huge. Headed up by Angela Williams, who is an amazing force of a woman.
Right, which was founded in 18...
Oh my gosh, you're going to test me here. I don't know the exact...
the 19th century at one point, yeah.
Many, many years ago, founded, and again, just to be a basic service to people is how do you connect people in need with either products, people, services that can help,
right,
and relieve that need. And we were founded, like I mentioned, 100 years ago on that same idea. It was literally, they called it a community chest. And in 1925, a few people came together and said, we're going to create this community chest to help support everyone in the community, and we're going to funnel the dollars together to make a greater impact. So that is why a lot of United Ways sometimes still operate in that model of pull the dollars together and then pass them out. Again, we do some of that through grants and other ways we do that, but then some United Ways like ours have started doing the direct services as well, because we found that there's even greater need. And when you're fortunate to be a larger organization like United Way, you can step in sometimes and help.
Right, and you're one of the largest United Way organizations.
Yeah.
Hundreds of employees and
230 plus hiring, always hiring.
Wow.
We're hiring across the board all the time, because we have sort of the home base, the headquarters where you have operations. So that's development, administration, finance, my team, marketing. We sit in what's called the Social Impact Accelerator. So our division is really thinking about how we move things forward, how we amplify all the work that we're doing. And then we have...
Is that your accelerator, or is that the one that's up on North End?
This is an accelerator within United Way of Central Maryland.
Oh, okay.
So different, yeah.
Yeah, where's that located?
It's actually not a physical space. It's the idea of an accelerator.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So within United Way.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so you focus on both marketing and innovation. Are those not kind of intertwined, or they separate? They're very much intertwined.
They're very intertwined.
One team, two teams,
One team.
and one team. Got it.
We actually just hired our first role that I would say is truly just in the innovation space, and that's product development and management, which is great because we offer against so many different services. We have a experience called the 30/30 experience, which is
Tell me about that.
so that's a virtual empathy building experience.
Yeah.
It's a 90-minute completely online experience where you would go into it. It's a fully facilitated experience. I'm one of the facilitators if anyone ever wants to join in.
It's like a synchronous experience.
Yeah, so you are actually going in, you're
Uh-huh.
learning more about what it is like to live as Alice, to live, be working hard and struggling to make ends meet, and you go in and assume the role of a head of household and have to make 30 decisions, which represent 30 days.
Oh, wow.
And so it is
And does it is there an assessment of how well you did? Like,
there is.
hey, day 5, you probably should have not bought the keynote ticket.
It's funny, so we call them key life indicators. And you have a wallet, credit card debt, and then you have
Oh, wow.
you have your health, your well-being, job, education, and housing. And depending on the choices you make. So let's say that you decide, I want my children to live closer to their school. That means that my commute is going to be longer and we have to downsize where we're living. We're going to move and rent in a different place. So your housing is probably going down because now you have to squeeze in, your kids have to share a room. Your job satisfaction or job, health
Right.
moves down because now you have a longer commute and sometimes you're late.
So it gives you like a scorecard.
And at the end, you actually get, and so on the corporate side of it, if you are a company that is paying for your employees to go through the 30/30 experience, you also get that data. It's anonymous. We don't share, who had what experience, but then you can also
Of their decision making.
Yeah. You don't get to know that.
So there's
Jim
like
said
disc
this.
assessment,
Yeah.
there's the personality index, and the 30/30. Right?
Yeah. You get to know your Enneagram and your 30/30 score.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just data, though, because we really did want this to be data backed. We wanted it to be something that is different.
Right.
Is not. We've seen a lot of, and we even, as United Way of Central Maryland, used to have an in-person experience that was an empathy building experience, but that requires a lot of human capital. That requires, your staff being away. It adds a lot. So adding that virtual component and adding the technology into it allows us to reach a lot more people. We have, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but thousands of people who we've reached now. We've hosted more than 500 of these 30/30 experiences since 2021. And it's just been, we've heard from people across the board. Someone on a board, we did it with a board of directors, and they said every elected official should have to go through this experience to understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and you should have I don't know, you probably already are, but like Leadership Baltimore, Leadership Howard County. Is that part of the tour?
Yeah, it's part of curriculum for Leadership Howard County. Does it every year, and we Leadership Baltimore County, and we're talking to the others. So
for some reason, I figured those two.
Yeah, all the leadership groups reach out to us because we would love to work with them.
Yeah.
That is exactly what it is. How can we bring that awareness and empathy into the workplace? How can we bring it into your home, into schools?
Well, conceivably, if 39% of our population is, on that on or below that Alice line, then your own team members probably are classifying. You just don't know it.
You just don't know.
Unless they're wearing it on their sleeves, you have no idea. We've had unhomed employees before.
Yeah.
It was a thing, and we had to help set them up with housing.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. And, I think that's really commendable for you all to find those resources. Think about that. Actually makes me think of another program that we have. You had asked about our programs. In our economic advancement division, we have a program called Workways. This is new. So it's a new program adopted from some others that we had seen out there. And
it's like career pathing or development.
It's really meant to do what you just said, is rather than you as the owner and your other staff coming in and helping someone, you actually have a case manager, essentially.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, designated to your organization.
Yeah.
So if you come on board as part of the Workways program, you actually have someone as your support.
Oh,
and they're your coordinator.
Right.
Essentially.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you should have that part of, our benefits, our, employee wellness programs.
Exactly.
This sort of guidance would be great.
And it's a higher touch point because it's an individual. It's, again, private. But if you had someone who was unhoused and in that situation, rather than coming to you, who then has to go find all these resources, that person, one, can be anonymous if they choose to be.
Well, they were trying to be anonymous.
Of course.
I realized that they were unhoused. So,
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
And that's very kind of you to step in. A lot of employers wouldn't even do that and try to find that help. But this
That was one of our
person-
top producers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that is, again, what happens when people are living as Alice or facing poverty is they can't do their job as well. So then
Right.
that impacts you as an
Yeah.
employer.
I mean, we care about each one of our team members, but
But you care about your bottom line.
absolutely, yeah. If we care about our bottom line, right? They're top
You
producer,
have to
like
employ them.
yeah.
Yeah. So you might, like you said, you might have someone who you're working with who is struggling, is facing eviction, is, doesn't have childcare that they need. And this program Workways helps you connect them with a coordinator who says, I have these resources.
Right.
I know who to reach out to. I know who to call. Let me help you. And then that person hopefully doesn't leave your company because of some kind of inconvenience that has nothing to do with their work.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with you as an employer.
And we moved here originally because there is a childcare center in the first floor.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
a lot of our team members would bring their kids into work, drop them off, work, bring them home. And it was super convenient. Now, lucky for us, we work remotely generally, our producers. And so, it means childcare is less of an issue for mind grubbers.
Sure.
But, most jobs out there, you still have to go to work. We have a restaurant down the street. You can't do a restaurant job remotely.
No.
It's not possible,
You
right?
do that remotely, and you can't bring
Yeah.
your children to the restaurant.
No, that's
Either.
yeah. You might be able to bring kids. You just can't bring dogs anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, health department. They're better with kids than animals, but
Thinking about my preference there. I think I'm better with kids, but no, but childcare, again, huge issue. We talked about the cost of it, but the
Very expensive, yeah.
accessibility of childcare. I remember I used to live in this neighborhood, and I remember when the daycare was built here, and it was sort of revolutionary at the time
Right.
to truly have daycare embedded in an office center.
Yeah, no, I mean, the closest daycare was, I mean, other than people doing it individually in their houses was, a couple miles down the street.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
far, so that adds to commute. It adds to all
Right.
those little pieces.
I remember we have 7 kids and we had them spread across 6 different schools at one point, and we lost our mind because we didn't have buses for all of them.
No.
So we were really shuttling like to 4 different schools in the morning, 4 different schools in the evening, and luckily we had the means to do it. But I mean, it's brutally difficult these days. Back when the exes were growing up, you could just kick the kids out of the house and be like, don't come home until
Figure
it's dark, right? But these days you can't do that. There's so much more attention that's needed to raising kids and cost and money.
Cost.
Yeah,
Exactly.
economically, it's way more difficult.
And you think about all the factors that just went into childcare. It is, you need to have jobs that can pay for the childcare. You need reliable transportation that gets you to and from
Mhm.
that childcare and then to your employment. Without stable housing, everything is at risk.
Right.
So there's so many pieces, and I think I've been with United Way of Central Maryland for 6 years. I came from for-profit. I came from for-profit and startups. So I did not know the nonprofit world. And I think that's one of the things I've seen that we do, and this is not even just my marketing, my marketing brain, that we do really well is think about all those things.
Mhm.
They are so interconnected, and you cannot have a good education for your child and great daycare and all those things if you don't have housing, if you don't have all these
Right.
pieces.
But heaven forbid, like you get a flat tire.
Yeah.
Depending on your car, a flat tire could be $300 to $750 to replace one tire.
Yeah.
But if you're paycheck to paycheck, you're done.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. Or you get a ticket. I mean, in every state it's a mess, but you get a ticket and then unfortunately, like you don't pay that ticket, then you get a flag on your registration. You can't renew your registration, then you don't have a car you can drive, and then your work's impacted, and then
And are you on the bus route to be able to get to work?
right. Oh,
Maybe
well,
not. Probably not.
there was a period of my life I had to ride the buses, and that alone motivated me to have my rugby successful because it took about an hour and a half to go from my house into Baltimore and back, and I found I could actually ride my bike a lot
faster. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Now you could get on
really big hill going up in the Canesville.
Yeah.
So that part I really like the bus.
That also makes me think, I was just going to share our family centers. We have a few family centers throughout the Baltimore area, Columbia and Poppleton, West Baltimore. and then South Baltimore and Brooklyn.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they serve either families who are living in Dallas or the high school students there who are parenting students to make sure that they can graduate. And one of the students, I remember one of the stories we shared, every morning she took an hour plus bus ride
Right.
to school with her son, her little boy who was enrolled in child, just so that she could
Oh,
graduate
he rode the bus with the son.
with her son.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Before the sun, I mean, literally, truly before the sun came up, she was getting on the bus, going through the city.
Good for her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she did it, and she graduated. She has been gainfully employed for years, has another child, probably here by now, was on the way.
Yeah.
But that exactly what you're talking about, that you have to do every day because she didn't have a car,
Yeah.
didn't have reliable transportation. The bus that the family center provided is what got her.
That's amazing.
school every
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
And so, a majority of your income or your revenue comes from donations.
Yeah.
And a lot of it comes from workplace donations. So you'll set up programs at different workplaces, and a lot of the employees will, pool their resources together so that, and you can do your programs. And I remember you came to Mindgrub because you want to do a very innovative thing to basically get donations. And I remember at the time you were saying, like, we really need to have this immersive experience.
Yeah.
You want to tell us about that project, because it ended up being such a cool
It was really cool. It was a very cool project. So yeah, a lot of our donations come from individuals, either through their workplaces who run United Way fundraisers, or just generous individuals who find us in different ways, maybe get involved through our membership networks. And then we do receive a lot of funding through grants. So those are kind of our general sources. But every year we refresh our fundraising materials. We have a whole team of fundraisers. They're our sales team, and they go out and tell our story. And so we, as the marketing team, want to equip them with the best possible tools that we can. Every year they really like to have an updated giving guide we create. And my startup brain says we can't just keep doing this as a paper piece. We can't. Yeah, we've moved to digital.
with a handout.
Yeah, it was a handout.
Yeah.
We've moved to digital, which is better, but still something that was often printed out. He said, "Exactly, this needs to be more of an experience. How can we make this more experiential for someone
Yes.
versus looking at a piece of paper?" So yeah, we reached out to Mindgrub because we knew all of your work in the app space and other spaces like that, and we talked to you.
And in games.
Think,
right?
yeah, gamifying things, thinking about. I think that's actually how we came to it first. Is we had
Yeah.
initially talked about a proposal for a game,
Yes. Yeah.
and then it sort of came into let's create this
A gamified giving guide. Yeah.
Exactly. It's exactly what it is. So you get a little bit of background about United Way and who we serve, and you essentially walk through our programmatic areas, but from the visual of Central Maryland. So you have an eagle eye view. That was the whole time I remember telling your team, it has to be eagle eye view. It has to feel like you're kind of in The Sims and you're looking
It looked
down.
very sim-like.
Yeah,
Sure.
and you're looking down on this community. It can't be just Baltimore because we do serve all of Central Maryland. So your team did a great job of pulling in things that look like Carroll County,
Yeah.
things that looked like, we had a lot of water to make it look like Anne Arundel, and put some different landmarks and things throughout it. And as you navigate through each space, you learn more about our programs. You can listen to podcasts we've done, videos pop up, and then there's the option to donate, of course.
Yeah.
And it walks you through each place. But it, to me, was one of the first things, at least that I worked on after I started at United Way, that felt really like we're being digital forward now. We are being innovative in at least the digital space. And it was really exciting. I think just seeing our own team react to it, seeing donors react to it, it was great to see we're doing something a little different.
No, it's definitely a model. We work with a lot of not-for-profit organizations, and they see what we did working with you for that giving guide, and they all want those.
Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
want it.
So then you'll have to step up the next thing. It'll be a immersive VR.
I know. Trust me,
Yeah.
we've talked about all these
First
things.
person,
Yeah.
30/30, right?
Who knows what the next thing could be? I mean, 30/30 was definitely the next innovation, but my team is always talking about what other, especially empathy building, how can we help people better understand and sort of step into the shoes so that it clicks a little bit more.
Yeah, well, there could be some gamified experience where you say, listen, for the next 3 days, you can't use your car, can't go in your house.
Yep.
Give me all your credit cards.
Yeah.
And good luck to you.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, and we also have to walk the fine line. This is something we realized with the 30/30 experience is, um, not gamifying it too much that it feels like we are making a game of people's lives, because that is also really important.
Right.
We of course want to be respectful, and that's been the amazing thing with that experience in particular and other things we've done is that people who are living as Alice have actually gone through it and shared throughout the experience. This is my day-to-day life. They've shared, this is what it is like for me. Or we've had people share, I didn't know I grew up like this. I didn't know my parents were struggling this much. And this kind of opened my eyes to how much they did for me and my siblings. So it's really nice to see those sort of aha moments and be able to tell and share stories respectfully and not feel like you're, stepping over that line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know as a member of this community that we really appreciate that everything the United Way of Central Maryland has done. And it's been wonderful working with you, Renee. Is there any parting statement that you want to tell our viewing audience out there?
Everyone. Yeah, so it is our 100th year. We are in year 100, which is wild to think that we've been around that long, but we have been evolving and changing that whole time. So we are not your grandpa's United Way. We are not that sort of just traditional pass through. We are funding social entrepreneurs. We are providing them with different kinds of coaching and support. We are thinking of new innovative ways to deliver our programs. We're creating models that can be used at scale with other organizations. We're still partnering with other organizations too. We're always saying, how can we bring people together? If there are crises, things like that. How can we bring people together? And you can learn more if you just go to our website,
That was my next
uwcm.org.
question. Yeah. What's that URL again?
uwcm.org. Go to /100, and you'll find events that we have happening. You'll find volunteer opportunities, lots of things coming up to volunteer. Find out more about the programs that we're supporting through our 100-year anniversary. Again, lots of innovative programming in there, things that you probably have not heard of before. And check them out and join us.
Great. Well, be sure to check out that URL and help support United Way of Central Maryland's 100-year campaign this year. Renee, thanks for joining us here in our studios in downtown Baltimore. You've been
Always
great
happy to be
guest on the show. Thank you.
Thank you.